quorum. The town of Inuvik acknowledges we are located on the traditional lands of the Gwich'in and Inuvialuit people of the Northwest Territories. We are grateful to be allowed the opportunity to learn, work, and live on Treaty 11 lands within the Gwich'in settlement area and the lands of the Inuvialuit final agreement. We respect the generous sharing of traditional wisdom and knowledge. We commit to honoring paths towards self-determination. Item number 2, adoption of the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Kulikowski and Councillor Day. Any discussion, corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 3, declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. Anyone? Seeing none. Item 4.1, the RCMP report. You'd like to have a seat and introduce yourself?
Well, thank you for having me, Your Worship, and apologies for not making the last one. The prior commitment I could not get out of, but my name is Sergeant Jesse Auden. I'm the new detachment commander here in Inuvik. And I understand that there's been a bit of turnover in that position the last couple of years, as you folks probably already know and respect. But like I've assured all my members, you know, I'm here, I like it, I want to stay here. I'm just thoroughly enjoying it so far. People have been very friendly. I generally don't like to bore people with, excuse me, my biography. It was a little bit in the mayor's report of interest, but I do have 17 years of service. The last 5 or 6 years have been here in the Northwest Territories between Fort Resolution and multiple positions at headquarters in Yellowknife and at Yellowknife Detachment. Before that, I was down south. We can skip that part. But I started my career in the Yukon, which isn't too far down the road. So I think it's kind of neat for me that I'm sort of in Inuvik, which is close to where I started in the Yukon. A little bit similarities, but you know, nothing too crazy. And I like to think of it as this: is that I'm the chief of police of Inuvik, right? So kind of buck stops with me when it comes to policing, and you know, I'm here to work with the mayor, with the council, with the community, with you mentioned the Gwich'in and Inuvialuit people. Work with people to make this community safer, reduce harm. We're obviously not the only player in that or partner in that, but we're one of the key folks to that. And I won't bore you with reading the mayor's report. I'm sure you all have read it. It was my first one, so there'll be some changes a little bit to it and probably a little bit more information as we move forward. But that's sort of it in a nutshell. And I'm open to, maybe I can open it up to questions first, because there's one other thing I'd like to talk about, but if there's questions about the mayor's report or questions for me as, you know, as a detachment commander or anything of that nature, I would love to give council and the mayor the opportunity to do so.
Okay, any questions? Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
I may write some things down.
Hi, welcome to town. I'm Natasha. I just wanted to ask, in the last couple of reports, there's been talk about the bystander intervention program happening at the school. Just curious a little bit more about what that is and if there's opportunity for community adults to go and take something like that as well, or what it is. Thanks.
That's a great question, and I won't have all the answers. I should have started with that first, but I know the constables here have done a great job with that bystander program in the school. My knowledge of it is a little bit limited, but I did read a little bit about it. You know, it's kind of an anti-bullying sort of, don't just stand back and not say anything, say something, and definitely can look into if there's something that we can provide for adults as well, because I know, you know, on anti-bullying day, I said this too, bullying doesn't stop when you get out of school. As we all know, we've been in workplaces, we've had friends, we've been out at events, and bullying carries on. We call it harassment once you get to become an adult. So 100%, that's something that I can talk to the members who provided the program to the school to see if it's something we can curtail for adults.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Excellent question, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Dell.
Oh, thank you. Is it, I want to make sure I got your title, your position.
Jesse's fine.
Jesse. I appreciate that, Jesse. Tony. I just had a question, just sort of about youth engagement outside of the school a little bit, since sort of super RCMP Stephanie Leduc left Inuvik and her great sort of programs with youth. We just haven't been able to connect and really have a great youth engagement program. So I'm just hoping under your tenure that we will be able to at least re-engage a little bit on those fronts. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I know I can't speak to what's happened here the last couple of years with sort of the changing in leadership at the Inuvik detachment. But speaking with the members that are here, several of them are very committed to youth engagement into the schools, and I understand that's not the only sort of thing that we can be engaged with. In fact, sometimes after hours or summertime, it is even better. So, you know, I know there's a youth center here. Look forward to visiting that when it's open and I'm around. And I do see a big role, and part of some of the things I want to talk about were sort of our priorities for the next fiscal year. And youth is definitely, I would like to make it a detachment priority. So we can address exactly what you said, and not just, hey, school's over, the RCMP leaves and don't know any of the youth. Because I know Stephanie Leduc actually, and she was very, very community oriented here in Fort Smith where she went. So, and I'm open to ideas and suggestions. I always tell this to people of how we could be more involved outside of school. If town and council and mayor have ideas about that, I definitely am open to suggestions. I don't have all the answers, so you know, multiple heads make better decisions. So thank you.
Councillor Devlin.
Just one more thing, bit more of a serious subject. We just had a recent large drug bust in Leger, Fort McPherson. Obviously, it's on the thoughts of many right now, just with some explosions in sort of opioid and fentanyl usage, and as it's creeping or crept, you know, up here. Obviously, I'm not going to make an assumption that's a priority. I'm going to say that I'm pretty sure it's a priority. You know, what can we do as a community a little bit as well to assist you in this? Yeah, I think just some of that information. Thank you.
Yeah, it's as we all know, substance use and abuse is a complicated thing. The police are one part and a big part of that equation. And I just spoke with members today about this and sort of banging on this drum, for lack of a better term, since I got here. You know, is our goal, our priority, one of our priorities is to reduce that. And one of the ways we can do that is disruption, obviously, of people selling it in the community. I think it also sends a message when we have some successful drug busts like they did just, I guess, is that south or west of us, kind of both. You know, it does send a message to people. It does send a message. So, you know, as a community, I think if there's a way that we can look at this as a harm reduction, how do we reduce the harm that this causes? How do we, you know, whether it's engaging health and social services, who are a great partner in this, public health, the schools would be another good one, getting folks on early. You know, substance abuse is not something that, you know, I can say I'm going to solve here tonight. Obviously, that would be reckless of me to say, but we play a large part, and I want to see an increase in enforcement. And we do have some ideas where we can specifically target that a little bit more and not take away from the calls for service that we get every day, the impaired driving, the you know, intimate partner violence, which would be another priority I'd like to sort of engage you folks in making. So, you know, we don't have unlimited resources, but that's definitely something that I think in the next little while, we're going to be able to take one of our resources to sort of specifically look into that issue and target it. And I know that the territory, the NTRCMP, is looking at different ways that they can support us in that as well. So it is a division, it's a territorial issue. It's a national issue. And you know, territorially, I know it's high on the list of our priorities. So, but that's another thing I'm open to. And I would suggest that, you know, strong partnerships with all the other community partners. And I'm learning, as I, you know, only been here for a month, that there is good partners of the RCMP in this community. And we just need to make sure like as the RCMP, need to make sure that we cultivate those and strengthen them. Because we cannot tackle substance abuse alone, obviously. So, but thank you for bringing that up.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Councilor Devlin. What I'd like done with drug dealers, I can't repeat in public, but anyway, keep up the work. Any further questions? Yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming. It's good to see you here, and if you get a chance once a month, drop by the office. Doesn't have to be any special day or anything else, just drop in.
It goes for you folks too, that we have a beautiful, the nicest RCMP detachment in the Northwest Territories. Times two is in Inuvik. Go stop into Yellowknife and you'll see the big difference in sort of luxury, if you will. And I don't know, maybe here's not the time, Mr. Mayor, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page with priorities, and I've heard drugs and I've heard youth. It doesn't have to be settled tonight, but maybe I'll pop in a week or two, and if you guys want to discuss amongst yourselves some other priorities, you know, to make sure that we're working for you folks as well, right? So I think they'll be fairly in line from what I've heard tonight, and I appreciate it. And have me back here anytime. It doesn't have to be mayor's report. It's whenever you'd like. I'm open. So
Thank you.
thank you very much,
Thank
folks.
you.
Enjoy
Have
the
a
rest
good
of the
evening. Item 4, delegations, sorry, we already did. Item 5, public question period. Okay, that's easy. Item 6.1, minutes of the April 12th, 2023 council meeting. I need a mover and a seconder. Councilor Devlin and Deputy Mayor Kulikowski. Any discussion?
Point of order. Councillor Kulikowski and Councillor Day were not here, so they cannot second the motion. So I think.
Oh, sorry.
You are correct.
No, that's
Keeping that guy.
That's good.
Hey, Councilor Downs, please,
Oh,
We have two
Councilor
on.
Collins raised his hand. I just didn't say.
Ah.
sorry, wait.
So, the seconder is Councilor Galloway.
Good catch.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Can we even vote for
Motion's carried. 6.2, minutes of the April 20th, 23 bylaw review committee meeting. A mover and a seconder. Councilor Devlin and Councilor Gallons. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. It's okay, I can wait till the lottery thing comes up on its own.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7.1, the action items list. Any questions, corrections? I do see one. On item number 2, it refers to see item number 4. There is no item number 4.
Hmm.
We'll
Probably
take that.
number 3.
Any other questions?
Should be 3,
Sorry?
should be item 3,
Okay.
so it's full survey.
Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
Just a question with the lands department now being renamed and what have you, and then the upcoming election, are we not anticipating seeing any movement on these now until basically next year?
Say over.
No, I think you'll see, because even though there's a combination of people theoretically haven't changed.
Okay,
The only changes would be at the deputy ministerial level, and that for the actual, if you want to call it, worker bees are still all the same, because I have been in contact, discussion about what I am with them already.
great, thank you.
Anything further? New business, item 8.1, strategic priorities chart update. April 12th, council revised the strategic priorities section as an item. Land inventory had been accomplished. That item has been deleted from the chart with it being completed. This now has openings to add another priority. The revised chart is included with this briefing note for reference. Until then, the chart will not be an information item for future council meetings. Council has the option of deferring any additions until the administration has completed their review of the priorities and then update at an in-depth meeting. in May. A suggested May 13th be the scheduled date for review by council. So you have two options, add two new items to the top 5 priorities, or defer making any adjustments until full review can be done.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
just one item, not two, a little bit of a typo.
That's 2 years.
So there's a typo.
One new item. What is your wish? To defer? Deputy Mayor Kulakowski.
I had a couple thoughts on this one, the tripartite leadership table meeting. I almost think that should be moved to advocacy or partnership. That's, I mean, that's not a counts, I don't know, unless there's a reasoning for it to be in the council priority as opposed to the other one. And then, sorry, which one was deleted? It was land inventory. Okay, and that would be different than empty property, whatever that options means. I'm just,
I think it becomes, if you remember how I do it is see what the inventory is and then take a look at what empty properties are going to be, whether they be town-owned or also private properties that are sitting empty.
I see, okay, so like the same spreadsheet could be used and just added to, okay. So I would like to see the plastic bag ban added onto the council priorities list. I know we had been slow at doing it because we had been told quite a few years ago that the feds were gonna put it in for the whole country and it just hasn't happened. I don't know if there's any traction on it. That's one that I would love to see happen if we can.
Any comments?
Councilor Devlin has his hand raised.
Councilor Devlin.
I just wanted to say that I was informed that Northmont the other day that as of May 1st, they no longer have plastic bags.
By their own choice.
I'm just passing on some good news.
It is good news.
Sorry, bear with it. There is some new legislation
Oh,
on federal legislation regarding plastic
oh,
bags and stuff like that. I don't know if it's a ban, but there is some stuff to do with it. I just don't know. Can't remember
So it
what all
may-
the specifics.
may still be obsolete for us to have to do a bylaw then if it's gonna be an old, okay. Okay.
What I can do is if you like, from an administration point of view, we can do a little more research on what exactly that federal act is
Sure.
and then maybe get back to you.
I guess that way going into if we're gonna do the May 13th meeting, we could know if that could just come off of there then.
Yeah.
Completely. Okay, that'd be great. Otherwise, I just thought that was kind of low hanging fruit, but, I'm okay with waiting until the 13th, just realizing that that's actually only a couple weeks away. Thank you.
Councilor Gowns has his hand raised.
I had an issue
Councilor Gowns.
or a question
Councilor Gowns.
regarding strategies.
Just 1 second.
Sure, Councilor
Lens
Gowns.
or Branson.
I'll be quick, Ned. I just want to echo my support for the idea of moving the tripartite meeting into advocacy or into the category assessed by Deputy Mayor Kulikowski. I mean, I don't know how successful we've been trying to get this off the ground. We can still advocate for it, but I think it's one of those priorities where we haven't had success yet, and then we could open up that space for something where we can have some success sooner.
Thank you. Councilor Day.
If it is a strategy can we stop with the contaminated stuff coming from other communities to our local landfill? Make that stuff get shipped out?
Well, no contaminated material comes from other communities.
Well, you know, they're doing a major cleanup in Tuktoyaktuk, fuel cleanup in Clavitt, and that gets disposed at our landfill.
Contaminated soil with fuel comes to our, you can explain it better than I can.
So we have an agreement with KBL Environmental where they have applied and have a water license and will take contaminated soil of certain types. There's a whole list of what parameters they have to be that they are allowed to put into our solid waste site based on our water license now. Other than that, we do not take contaminated waste into the solid waste site. We can take asbestos, but there are certain rules and regulations again where it's buried and has to be GPS and things like that. That is allowed under the environmental regulations. And as far as the KVL, we do get revenue from that. It's not, and also we can, once it's being deemed under the environmental regulations, that it can be used as capping on our solid waste site, which also is a win for us regarding cost. But we do not take contaminated soil. There is certain regulation.
There's questions I'm getting from our fellow, members in the community are asking me why are we doing this? And really, I have no answer. I'm like, says it's dirty for another community, but accepted here just makes questions why.
Okay, thanks for the question, Councillor Day. Councillor Devlin,
Just to follow up on that, do we know where the contaminated soil is going? Like, do we have some guarantees? I mean, there's going to be contaminated soil coming out of this, and I realize that some stuff's been, I suppose, approved for our processing up here. That, I mean, I'm not gonna assume that it's all just malignant stuff.
So under the regulations and under the agreement and what KVL have done, and this isn't the only place to do this, they're called soil farms or whatever you want to talk about. There are strict rules as to the testing of the actual soil before it can be removed from the site, as far as its content. And the agreement we have is that the only use it will have from that soil farm, once it's deemed to be safe, is to cap our solid waste site. It's not going to go anywhere else. Because basically under the rules, you can't use it for food production otherwise. So it's limited even to the scope of what can be used with it. And since it's already at the solid waste site, and we get it for nothing type of thing, and it is allowed for that under ENR rules and under ECC. Department
After
and
the
stuff like
years
that.
it's been farmed.
It's a whole science as to what has to be done with it before it can be allowed to be moved off.
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
moving on. Any further questions? Okay, so the recommended motion would be that administration review and modify the operational priorities as a result of these changes to be brought forward to council for approval at a later date. We have identified May 13th as the date for the review. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Devlin and Councillor Day. Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
I don't think we're sending it back to admin for an update though, before then, are we?
Well, I think it would be prudent to do so.
Okay, so what are,
Chance to update the strategic priorities chart before we bring it back to council.
so, okay, sorry, I thought we were just going to update it on the 13th.
13th is not a council meeting.
Oh, but that would be our strategic priorities session, where we would make our next priorities.
If I may interrupt,
Yes, go ahead.
my recommendation for administration is that from our point of view of updating our sections, it would be better off to wait till after that May 13th, so that you have your strategies identified here, so to make sure that we get it into our strategies following. Because if we change and do our strategies, and then you come in with some, then we've got to go back anyways and readjust. So I would suggest from our point of view is once the 5 up the top are revised, doing it, then we can get together soon after that and make our revisions based on, to make sure that your priority, the council's priorities are in our operation. Excuse me, initiatives.
To make a long story short, that's what the suggested motion is. It ends with approval at a later date. And I mentioned we're reviewing it ourselves on May the 15th,
Okay, but you,
so that we can bring it to council.
the way I heard it was that you opened with sending it back to administration now.
Yeah.
Before the 13th.
Well, yeah. So they can bring forward any suggested changes on the 13th when we do the review. Otherwise, we have nothing to review.
Well, no,
Sorry,
I don't
Mayor
know
Wood,
if
I guess if it's okay, if I can clarify, is the
Yeah, go
idea is the top 5 under the council priorities should be decided first on the 13th. And leave the bottom until that's done so that we know what the 5 priorities are, so that we can put it in our operational initiatives. For us, we can't suggest anything until we know what your priorities are.
Okay. So suggested motion again is administration review and modify the operational priorities as a result of these changes to be brought forward to council for approval at a later date. Moved by Councillor Devlin, seconded by Councillor Day. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
we're not making any changes.
Did you wish to make a comment, Deputy Mayor Kulikowski?
Sure, I just, again, maybe I'm just missing something here, but. Again, it's talking about review and modifying operational priorities as a result of these changes, but we're not making any changes. We're just sending this item basically to wait for the 13th, right? So is it just a deferral? Should be?
Yeah,
Councillor Devlin?
yeah, she makes a point. This doesn't require a motion at this point because we're actually not making any changes yet. We haven't done anything except review a strategic priorities chart. That's the only resulting action coming out of tonight. We haven't actually changed anything, voted, nothing. There's nothing to vote on at this point, I don't believe, tonight.
Can you clarify, S.A.O. Hood?
They are correct in that there's under what I would look at from an administration point of view is we don't want to look at this until after the 13th, once council has set their 5 priorities. And right now, all you're doing is basically saying, let's wait, instead of making a decision on what the 5 are tonight, let's now wait to the 13th. So basically, this was an informational item now, and there's no motion required.
Okay. Moving on. 8.2, Lottery Regulations Policy MG 009 update. There are amendments to the lottery regulations, 4 of them are identified in your package, so I'm not going to go through them all again. The motion is be it resolved, Inuvik Town Council hereby approves the Town of Inuvik's revised lottery regulations policy MG 009 as presented. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Merrill, seconded by Councillor Devlin. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
Sorry. Just the 50-50 section, saying now that everyone needs a 50 or a license for everyone, that includes like the social committee at the hospital, like all of each little 50-50 in town now will require a license. Thank you.
Only if you look at it's what section under section 16.15. If they can conduct, if they do if they fall under 16.13 for the 50-50, which says you can have a club draw all in the same room, etc., then you don't need a license. But now these are more for when somebody's throwing a 50-50 tickets at Stanton's and things like this, where it's outside of a club room, it doesn't fit into that 16.13 section.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Any further questions? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. 8.3, fees and charges policy update. The amendment is in front of you. The motion is be it resolved, the Inuvik Town Council hereby approves amendments policy FM 021, the fees and charges policy schedule A. I need a mover, Deputy Mayor Kulikowski, and a seconder.
Council Downs.
Councilor
I'll second that.
Downs. Any discussion? All those in favor? Councilor
Aye.
Day? Opposed? Motion's carried. 9.1, bylaws. Bylaw 2710/GEM/23, the road naming bylaw. You have the changes recommended in front of you. And two options. So anyway, the noted changes from the previous bylaw include take the road name schedule out of the body of the bylaw and create a Schedule A for easier revision. Reference policy FB 009, civic address standards and guidelines policy, which includes the naming or renaming of roads procedures. And C, repeal the original bylaw and amendments. Committee recommended the bylaw with amendments made at the meeting be presented to council for discussion. Proposed bylaws attached for council's consideration. So if you choose to accept, the motion would be it resolved that every town council gives first reading to bylaw 2710/GEM/23, the road naming bylaw. A mover, Councilor Merrill and Councilor Devlin. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Second motion, be it resolved, the Inuvik Town Council hereby gives second reading to bylaw 2710/GEM/23, road naming bylaw. Mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Kulikowski. And Councilor
I'll
Merrill.
second.
Any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Nine point two. Business license bylaw. Revisions to the bylaw were presented to the bylaw review committee, April 20th, 2023 meeting to clear up a few items such as multiple licenses required for different businesses. Committee recommended the bylaw with amendments made be presented to council for discussion. Proposed bylaws attached for council's consideration. We choose to accept the recommended motions, be it resolved, the Inuvik Town Council hereby gives first reading to bylaw 2711/L+P/23, the business license bylaw. A mover and a seconder. Councilor Merrill and Councilor Devlin. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Second reading, the same bylaw, mover and a seconder. Councilor Merrill. Deputy Mayor Kulikowski. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. 9.3 cemetery bylaw. Noted changes from the previous bylaw are clarifying terms regarding enforcement officers and take out a number of schedules, including the map, as it changes with every burial. The The recommended motion is be it resolved, the Inuvik Town Council hereby gives first reading to bylaw 2712/H and S/23, the cemetery bylaw. Over in the seconder. Councillor Merrill and Councillor Devlin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. 9.4. The bylaw to repeal a number of bylaws no longer in
So the
effect.
second
Gotta do
reading, of
second
that-
reading.
second reading of the previous bylaw there.
Okay, second reading of the cemetery bylaw. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Merrill and Councillor Day. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Motion's carried. Bylaw 2713/LND/23 to repeal a number of bylaws no longer in effect. Suggested motion, here, be it resolved, the Inuvik Town Council here God give first reading to bylaw 2713/LND/23. A bylaw to repeal a number of bylaws which no longer have any force or effect. All those. Councillor Merrill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kulikowski. I'm running out of voice here. Oh, any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Aye.
Second reading, same bylaw. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Mover and the seconder. Councillor Devlin,
Yes.
Councillor Harder. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody who says I don't have a sense of humor. Department head reports, we have none. Information items, we have various research projects. Council concerns. Councillor Devlin.
This may be a question for the Director of Public Protective Services, but I am just wondering about our solar powered, speed trap signs. We've had lots of solar, but I haven't seen the signs working. And so, I seem to remember the budgeted cost of those as well. So I'm kind of wondering if they're not working, if they're under warranty, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's just simple, let them have it turn the switch on.
Perhaps it could be.
But, I did, Councilor Devon, I did notice that this week as well. And I will be talking to municipal enforcement tomorrow. Thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other concerns? Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
It's like you knew something was gonna come up. Just a follow up to the naming committee call out. I was hoping that we could maybe reach out to the people who did put their names forward to let them know that we've received them. Okay, right on. And then if we can just repost all the call out part, just trying to get those names filled. I know we have a couple of requests before us and we need people on the committee in order to move them forward. Maybe even going as far as having a chat with CBC on a Friday or something to say, this is why we're looking for them and what it actually means for some folks or something. And then my second thing is not a concern, but I just wanted to acknowledge Administrative Professionals Day and say thank you to all the members of the Town of Inuvik staff in all our admin capacities who look after everything in the town. And a special shout out to Jenna and Grant who look after us specifically. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. You're here.
Any other concerns? Seeing none. I need a motion to go in camera. Deputy Mayor Kulikowski, seconded by Councilor Merrill. All in favor? Motion's carried. Give it a couple of minutes.